Welcome back to Boise, Idaho. Just ahead of Boise State and Utah State. The Broncos are 8-1 at home this season. Richie Schuler.
You know, they are, and they're coming off 2 straight road losses. So you know they're hungry and excited to be back in this building. 8-1 at home, like you said, and shooting 48% on their 7 home game win streak.
Aggies are 14-5, 3-3 overall in the conference. They're under the direction of Craig Smith. His team is finally healthy. The Aggies start the night, as we mentioned, 14 wins, 3 of those in Mountain West Conference play, but in 6th place. And we just got a final that came in. San Diego State, they're still unbeaten. They beat Nevada 68-55. Other sideline, Leon Rice ejected just before half the other night at Air Force, and ironically, it was former Utah State head coach Tim Duryea who took over in the second half.
2 technical fouls in 11 seconds. So good to see Leon Rice back on the sideline, and he's got his hands full with Utah State, who went on that 3-game losing streak, but coming off a win. You have 2 teams here hungry and needing a win to climb the Mountain West Conference standings.
Ready to roll tonight inside Extra Mile Arena on the campus of Boise State. Utah State in white, controlling the opening tip. Boise State will be in all blue. Finally, as we mentioned, all the pieces. You see the starters there as Brock Miller gets the floater to go on the baseline. And a good start for Utah State.
And for Utah State, that's good. They're finally having some continuity in their starting lineups. This is the most since the end of November now, 4 games straight.
We got a foul underneath the basket away from the ball.
Well, when you look at Boise State, they're going to be running a lot of ball screens. They run a ton of sets. And so for Utah State to be successful against a very good Boise State team at home, they've got to be able to guard all those sets, but most importantly, guard the ball screens without fouling, contain the ball handler, and take away the roll.
Foul was on Brock Miller. That's his first. It comes in the opening 30 seconds of this game. Here's Alston, shakes his defender. Miller steps in for the deep 2 and misses. Alston comes in the leading scorer in the conference at 19.5 per game, but he's been struggling with his shot of late.
I'm curious to see how is Boise State going to handle this big fella setting the ball screen. Nimi Keita down inside. They're going to trap down inside.
Abel Porter off his own missed shot on the penetration. Gets the second chance opportunity, and the Aggies out to a 4-0 lead.
Utah State's going to need that. Rebounding is critical for them. When they out-rebound their opponents, and they're 3rd best in the country with total rebounds, they're very difficult to beat.
That was the Oregon transfer right there, Abu Kijab, who's been terrific since becoming eligible for Boise State. Here's Merrill. Swings it to the corner. Justin Bean sets up for a 3 and a 7-0 start for the Aggies on the road tonight.
Justin Bean, it's only his 3rd 3-point make on the season. The double-double machine.
Broncos need a bucket. Here's Alston weaving through traffic and can't get it around Neemias Queta, and a block on the second chance opportunity. George. Porter got blocked by Justinian Jessup, and it's staying with Utah State.
It's pretty good transition defense by Boise State, keeping a man in front of you. But here is that 3-pointer by Justin Bean. Great cross-court pass. The ball reversal by Sam Merrill right into the hands of Bean, who knocks down the corner 3-point shot.
Queta hands it off to Merrill as they look for more. Out to Bean. Can he make it 2 for 2? They're a great rebounding team, aren't they, Richie?
Oh, they're outstanding. Like we said early on, when in that 3-game losing streak that they had. Nice pass.
Merrill to Queta. And quickly 9-0, and Boise State needs a timeout.
Not only are they a great rebounding team, but you see they're a good passing team as well.
Quick 30-second break. Quick start for Utah State on the road tonight in Boise. This is pretty uncharacteristic for the Broncos. They're 8-1. They're down 9-0 at the start.
Utah State is clicking on all cylinders. They're starting to finally play really good in conference play, you know, against that Nevada game. And then Nevada game, they got back on track after losing those 3 straight. But like I was trying to say earlier, that 3-game losing streak, they got out-rebounded by 12 boards a game. So that's critical. They're imposing their will on the boards, and they'll be just fine.
Key jab over Queta with a bucket. He's the Oregon transfer. Sat out spring last year in the first 10 games of this year. This is his 10th game with the Broncos, and he's scoring 14 points a game.
Boise State defensively is going to have to pick their poison. Utah State has 5 players that average double figures in the scoring column.
Now, it's a Utah State team today as Porter lost the handle on it, but hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Bean is fouled underneath. What I was going to say is Utah State today has had to endure 2 fire alarms at their hotel, and yesterday they decided to bus from Logan all the way to Boise, Idaho. It should take about 4.5 hours. There was some snow on the highway. They closed the route. I think it's 84. So they had to sit on a bus at a truck stop or a rest stop for an hour.
You would think they'd be gassed, but they've had a week off. So they should be juiced and ready to go, and they're playing like it right now, like they've had a ton of time to rest. And they're just playing juiced here in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, last played a week ago at Nevada, so they had the midweek bye. And in that Nevada game, they finally won, breaking a 3-game losing streak to open up the 2020 calendar year.
A lot of sets for this Boise State team. I think they're at their best when they are driving like that. Alston gets into the paint and makes an errant pass, but get into the paint, look to score, get to the free throw line. If not, kick it out. You got good shooters on the perimeter.
Second turnover of the ball game for Boise State. Merrill's a great 3-point shooter and knocks it home without it even moving the net.
He's just terrific. The stare down 3-point shot. He can score in all kinds of ways. He can pull up mid-range. He can score to the basket. That's last year's Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. We've seen him make buckets, and we've seen him make great passes already tonight.
Started the year on the wooden watch list, but was not on the midseason wooden watch list. And there's another takeaway, the 3rd turnover for Boise State. Instead, Malachi Flynn is on it in place of Merrill out of the Mountain West Conference.
San Diego State, number 7 in the country, might crack the top 5 after all the upsets tonight.
Miller misses, but there is Trevin Dorius on the offensive glass. They get 11.5 offensive rebounds a game. Couldn't stick the second chance opportunity, though. Alston trying to make him pay, and he will with a 3.
We saw Alston miss a couple shots earlier that normally he would make, but he can make those deep threes. He had 6 3-pointers, 6 of 7 against Alabama State earlier in the year.
9-point game.
Utah State does such a good job of moving the ball around the perimeter and finding their posts inside.
Right in the middle of the defense, and Bean couldn't stick the jumper, and an over-the-back foul will be called on Trevin Dorius, the 7-foot redshirt freshman from Heber City, Utah. 15-12 to go, opening half. Utah State with a 9-point lead.
Continental Tire, for what you do.
Well, Utah State with a 9-point lead in the early going and a block underneath. Inside of 15 minutes to go. Steve Quist, Richie Schuler back with you inside Extra Mile Arena here in Boise, the Treasure Valley. There's an open 3 right wing, Alfonso Anderson. So an empty possession for Utah State, who's played well in the early going.
Well, they've done everything to win a basketball game. That's a great pass down inside by Jessup into R.J. Williams. And I love R.J. Williams' game. He's so tough and hard-nosed around the basket. You saw that finish there with the reversal. But what I was trying to tell you, Steve, is Utah State has 9 points off of combined their offensive rebounds. They have 4 of them. And forced turnovers. They've forced Boise State into 3 of those.
And now the Broncos defending. Merrill turns it over. Here's Jessup, a terrific 3-point shooter in the corner right in front of the Utah State bench with a miss. Abel Porter into the corner. Diego Brito from Portugal gets it to his other Portuguese brethren in Keita. Porter shook his defender long enough to get a look from 3 and missed.
Yeah, that's a good defensive possession.
Key job in transition, and he's fouled.
That was a really good defensive possession by Boise State. For the most part, they kept the ball outside, and they forced an outside shot. Then they go on the other end, and Kejab has been a terrific addition to Boise State, who became eligible mid-season at 14 points a game, the Oregon transfer. I think he's at his best when he just can play. You know, you're trying to join a team late, and obviously you've been with the team, but you're still trying to get acclimated in games. When he's not thinking, he is balling.
Our big Monday matchup at 9 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app is Oklahoma and Waco to take on #2 Baylor, who squeaked one out today against Oklahoma State. The Bears have gotten the better of the Sooners the last 3 meetings, 5 of the last 6. That's Monday night, 9 Eastern on ESPN. Kejab trying to get the Broncos within 5, and he does after he makes both free throws. Boise State was down as many as 12, but have stuck in there.
You see it all the time. Teams get hot early and then they cool off. Boise State's too good, too talented not to make a comeback here in this game, and here you see them clawing right back in. And I think we're going to have a great game here.
Merrill from just outside the free throw line buries the jumper, and it looks like there was 4 arms in his face.
We've seen him make a pair of jumpers. One was a stare down, step up 3-point shot, and that one off the bounce mid-range. That's what makes him so good. He can shoot in a variety of ways when scoring the ball. He can also drive it, and he's a great passer.
He and Justin Bean have 5 apiece. Here's Alston, the leading scorer in the Mountain West Conference with 19.5. Out to Marcus Dickinson, who's playing with a strained quad. He's played just 15 minutes total the last 3 games after 16 consecutive starts to open the year. And a foul will be called. There's Dickinson guarding Merrill, and so Dickinson picks up the personal. There's Leon Rice. He barked at the officials twice in the final minute on Wednesday night in Colorado Springs and endured his first ejection rather of his career. I think he'd rather have had an injection.
Yeah, maybe so.
And stayed and watched the second half, but instead he was ejected for the first time in his illustrious career.
If you notice, we're 8 minutes into the game. Trevin Dorius, number 32 for Utah State, just came in for Nimi Keita for the 2nd time.
And they tried to get it to him right there, and they turned it over to the Aggies.
As Keita's trying to get his win back into the game after being out for several months and just back recently, I think it's important to consistently sub him in and out so he doesn't get in foul trouble. We saw that in some of the games where he got in foul trouble quick.
And there is an offensive foul, Dorius. And so it's a little bit closer as we go to another media timeout here inside Extra Mile Arena. Utah State 16, Boise State 9. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball presented by 5-Hour Energy Shots. Energy on the go. And in part by Pedigree, feed the good. Well, an unseasonably warm evening here in Boise for Utah State and Boise State. They had temperatures in the 40s today here in mid-January. A big storm moved out to the east.
Well, I got to be honest with you. Since I moved to Southern California, I know you're from Southern California. I've gotten soft with the weather, so this weather has been outstanding.
That was bad for you?
Well, you know, it wasn't bad. I mean, the last time I was here a couple weeks ago, it was much colder, so I can take mid-40s in January in Boise.
You know what was hot? Utah State to start, right?
Yeah, they were.
Got out to a big 12-point lead. Now Boise State has started to ratchet up the defense a little bit.
Well, what Boise State is missing right now is some scoring from Justinian Jessup. He hasn't got a bucket yet. Derek Alston, he hit a 3-point shot, but those two players are traditionally really good at home.
Here's Jessup, and he will miss again. Before we went to the break, Trevin Dorius picked up his 2nd personal foul, so Craig Smith still leaves him out there here with 11.5 to go.
So Utah State has a 3-around-2 alignment. You see it goes down inside to Bean. Let him go to work.
And a second help side defender comes over and knocks it away.
It's terrific defense by Boise State.
Kick to the corner to Alston. Alston underneath, and a bucket there by R.J. Williams, senior transfer from East LA College.
And I think that's the 2nd time Alston has connected with Williams around the basket. This is R.J. Williams. This is a matchup nightmare for opponents. He's a guy that can bring the ball up, did that in junior college. He can score around the basket.
And there's Sam Merrill with another bucket. Merrill, the leading scorer for Utah State now with 7. finally get off the schneid. It seemed like they were stuck on 16 for a while. And Alston dribbled it out of bounds.
Well, I feel like Boise State's defense has really clawed them back in the game. Bean had it down inside. It got poked away, and then they go down on the other end, and they get themselves a bucket. I like this. Alston looking high-low. You see Williams at the top of the screen found himself an area, an angle for Alston to throw him the ball down inside. Basketball's a game of angles.
Yep. That was Hobbs who came over as the extra defender, knocked it away and got the steal. 4 turnovers now for Utah State. They opened the game fairly clean, knocking down some shots, protecting the basketball, getting back to Aggie basketball like Craig Smith told us. Not in this stretch.
Yeah. Ray J. Dennis giving Abel Porter the heat coming up the floor.
Merrill shoots it and makes it over Dickinson.
I think that's his 4th jump shot already in this game.
He's a perfect 4 for 4 from the field, Richie.
He just does it in so many ways.
Last year's Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, almost 17 points a game, 5 boards, almost 4 assists a game. They're going to miss him next year. Senior from Bountiful, Utah. George inside. George over Bean, can't get it to go down.
Yeah, you see George is so big, he's wide, he's strong, gets great positioning with his feet. You got to have a guy like that, and Utah State didn't have that for probably the first half of the season thus far before Keita came. They didn't have anybody that could really go back to the basket and score.
Yeah, they were playing really small at times, still out rebounded. Here's Merrill, and he misses off the front of the rim, and there should be a foul on Hobbs here for holding the jersey of Bean.
See Justin Bean just flies around everywhere. Before Keita came back, Justin Bean, number 34 in the white. I mean, he was a guy that was just all over the place. I mean, you couldn't block him out. He's going to get the ball. Now, he's still the same player. But you have Keita getting a lot of those rebounds, cleaning him up because of his, length and size and the fact that he's always around the basket. Look at this.
Yep, quick inbound to Bean, and he gets the bucket. Caught him napping on defense.
Have to stay between man and ball. You have to communicate between the screens.
Bean has 7. George inside, and a foul. They're going to get Bean.
I like the way that Boise State consistently gets inside the paint. If there's a big tree and a white uniform around them, they're so good at dumping down into somebody else. Right there, trying to throw it into George. Bit of a dangerous pass, but we've seen that theme with Boise State. They consistently look to go into the paint and then lob or bounce pass it down inside to a player that's a little closer to the rim.
Here's George at the free throw line to shoot 2. Boise State lost by 7 on Wednesday night at Air Force. Remember, they were just 13-20 last year, so pretty good turnaround. 11-8 so far, 3-4 in the conference as Alston goes to the bench for a breather. And they have so many good transfers coming in. 2 of them from Arizona. Manuel Acott, Devenir Dutrieve. Got an Eastern Tennessee State transfer coming in. Marcus Shaver from Portland.
Yeah.
So perhaps the most competition Leon Rice's team has is Monday and Tuesday in practice.
Could be.
At times.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially in the early going. I don't want to take anything away from Mountain West Conference teams, but the early part of the year, it's going to be a good roster next year.
Well, I know there's 5 seniors that play for Boise State regularly now that don't want to wait until next year. They want to win right now.
Merrill to the corner, and open is Abel Porter. He misses the 3. And over the back. A push on Brock Miller.
Brock Miller was trying to get around Jessup. Jessup did a great job of blocking out. And sometimes if you get blocked out so well, you try to use your hands to get an angle to get around to the front of the player blocking you out. And I think that's what happened there.
16 fouls now for Utah State. Inside of 9 minutes to go. A 10-point advantage for the Aggies. They've been up by a dozen. And a 9-0 run to start this game. That's going to be out of bounds, and Utah State will take possession after Boise State commits their 6th turnover the first half.
Well, we all know how dangerous Nimi Keita is inside for Utah State, number 23. Like to see him get a few more post touches on the block. So I think he can go to work and cause a lot of damage. There he is trying to post up. He's dictating where the ball goes. That's exactly what they want.
And Bean from Keita.
And that is a Laker cut. Justin Bean throws it from the wing down inside, and you cut right over the top of the big man who caught it. Either get a handoff or a little dump pass like that.
Spotting up a 3 is Kejab, and Bean with another offensive rebound. Remember, they get 11 of those a game. And it's going to stick with Utah State.
Look right here. Laker cut. Justin Bean cuts right off it. Good bounce pass by Keita. Maybe a little underthrown, but Bean there good enough to catch it and score in traffic.
And quickly, Utah State reestablishes that 12-point advantage, matching their biggest of the night. Playing against a Boise State team who's won 7 straight at home, including Mountain West Conference wins over Wyoming and UNLV. And UNLV has only been beaten once here in Mountain West Conference play.
TJ Altenberger doing a fantastic job, and I think that's going to be player control.
Yep, they got Keita. He just ran over George, who is man enough to take that charge from Nimi Keita. Breaking the action, 7:47 to go tonight from Boise in the first half. 25-13 Utah State. This year's first major once again on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. Our Australian Open first round coverage begins tomorrow at 7 Eastern. Highlighted by 15-year-old American phenom Coco Gauff taking on Venus Williams in one of our later matches. Plus ESPN coverage, ESPN Plus coverage also beginning at 7 Eastern. And every match also live on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere.
I guarantee you, coming out of the timeout, Boise State is talking about not giving up any more offensive rebounds to Utah State, and also taking care of the basketball and trying to force Utah State into turnovers. Utah State is dominating in those categories so far.
Jessup, got to get him hot. 4 offensive rebounds in the early going for Utah State has led to 6 second chance points. A tie-up. And the possession arrow is going to point toward Boise State. So they get an opportunity to keep it here.
Well, with Jessup taking the ball out of bounds, keep an eye on where he goes.
Jessup has missed both his shots.
Yep, coming back to get the ball. Oftentimes that's an open 3-point shot in the wing.
There's only 3 to go on the shot clock. Key job, lets it fly and misses. They are struggling. They're sub 30% from the floor here in the early going is Boise State. Meantime, Utah State's at 50%. Brito was looking inside for Keita.
There he is, getting the ball.
He's got position now on Georgia, one-on-one, puts it on the floor, and another offensive foul on Keita.
You have to give Boise State a lot of credit. That's 2 player control fouls on Keita, and I guarantee you they've been talking about that. When Keita faces up, get in position, take the hit on the chest, because he's going to lower the shoulder, and it's going to go the other way. Every opponent of Utah State's is better when Nimi Keita is out of the game.
George has taken 2 charges. He might win player of the game if they rally here just by taking those 2 charges and sending Keita to the bench.
Let's see if Boise State can take advantage. Well, he's out of the game.
Keita leaves with just 2 points. Handoff to Keyjob. The Oregon transfer drives in and takes advantage underneath, right? Points in the paint there where Keita would have been.
Because there isn't a rim protector there. And that's what Keita is. They're playing really small right now. Anderson, number 10 for Utah State, is 6'6", and he's playing down inside there with Justin Bean.
Oh, Porter, great pass. Terrific entry pass to Bean, who's able to lay it in. Utah State 6 of their last 8 from the floor, and they reestablish a lead of a dozen. Jessup around the Williams screen.
And one thing I think Boise State is missing is a back to the basket inside presence. See that right there? RJ Williams went to screen, slipped. I'm not sure exactly what he did, but he dove to the basket. And that's how they get into the paint with their big men, is usually off diving cuts. Well, here's the one basket that they got. See, they do a lot of this by driving. That's key jab. And the other end, this is Justin Bean slipping the ball screen and taking advantage. But you're not seeing a whole lot of back to the basket post touches for Boise State. It's all dives to the basket, and that's not allowing them to be as balanced on the floor offensively.
Williams misses the front end of the 1-and-1. They need to get back on defense here. Here's a 3. Diogo Brito from the left wing. The senior from Portugal, who averages almost 9 points a game, has got a 3.
I've talked about this before, that early in the season, Diogo Brito said he loved the new three-point line, the FIBA line, because he's been playing it since he was 12 years old.
Yep. Advantage to the Portuguese player. Alston will draw contact. That's going to be the 10th team foul.
Well, this is good basketball. This is just cutting to the corner where oftentimes the open three-point shots are in transition and whatnot. And Brito taking advantage of the wide open look.
You know what I want to talk about there too is that was the 8th assist on the 12th made basket of the game for Utah State. And they are 3rd in the NCAA with 326 assists.
Well, this score really surprises me. This young man with the basketball right here, right now in the mock draft, I think he's somewhere in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
He can flat out play.
Yes, he can.
I mean, he played behind Chandler Hutchison his freshman year. We talked about it before. He's gained 40 pounds since he arrived. He's a junior now.
There's a walk-on. I mean, he got here at 148 pounds in the summer of 2016.
He's 6'9", 190. He was 6'9", 150.
Merrill lost it out of bounds. It'll be Boise State basketball.
I think they're saying deflection. Going to stay here.
Yep. Now they'll overturn it.
Crowd doesn't like it. Let's see. Tough one to call.
Yeah.
They're seeing the replay too.
Tommy Nunez, Ruben Ramos,
there's a foul.
Anderson, our officials.
Sam Merrill's trying to get open, and Dickinson gave him a little bit too hard of a shove in the corner. You have a player like Sam Merrill that can shoot the way he can, make plays the way he can. He draws so much attention, and that's why when Merrill and Cater are in the game together, they're so dangerous. You have two guys you have to worry about.
15 foul. They get it into Merrill, back out to Porter. 15 foul for Boise State. Here's Anderson. He's been quiet, going to work against Williams in the low block. Brito catches, shoots, and makes it for 2. 4 for their last 4 from the floor. 32-17, Utah State. Looking like a team that was angry. They lost 3 straight Mountain West Conference games to open up 2020. Alston bumped off his defender, missed the shot. Merrill in the paint, step back jumper, no good. Bean, another offensive rebound.
That's what he does. He gets you 2nd and 3rd chances.
He too a former walk-on that's averaging a double-double and a foul. They're going to get Alston. He got tangled up there with Brito and Merrill.
See, the last 2 possessions, there's been a foul because Utah State is moving so well off the ball. Players don't realize that. A lot of teams don't do that. But Utah State's one of those teams where they move so well off the ball. There's so many different types of screens taking place. There's ball reversals. There's players trying to get open. They're reading the defense. They know where to go. And when there's all that movement, it becomes difficult to guard. Defense will foul them, sometimes by accident, sometimes just to stop them from getting to an open scoring position.
Back to a 15-point lead here for Utah State. They've had it on 2 different occasions. Here's Merrill against Justinian Jessup. Double team came, kick out Brito for 3, and right there's Alfonso Anderson to grab the loose ball and score it. Man, everything clicking for Utah State in the early going. They've doubled up Boise State. This is a lot like how Boise State played last Saturday at Viejas Arena in San Diego. Key jab, nope, the shots are just not falling.
They're getting in the paint, but they're doing it with penetration. And you're right, a lot of those shots aren't falling. And this is the time they've got to get in there more without Queta in the ball game.
Porter runs the baseline, looking for an assist. Brito, the 3, no. And there's it over the back on Alfonso Anderson. And that will take us to a break. 3:36 to go here in the first half. Utah State has doubled up their lead on Boise State. Aggies 34, Broncos 17. Well, did you know the square dance is the official state dance of Idaho? My partner knows. I sent the I-team out. Tell me about this.
Hey, man, look at me. I wanted to go up here to the Boise Valley Square Dance Hall. It's been around since 1972. Steve, look at those moves. Tell me I can't square dance. It's only been 30 years.
Well, you're outstanding. And a few of these folks came over and said hi to you. And, boy, I remember square dancing. It was the scariest moment of 5th grade at Rolling Hills Elementary in Fullerton, California. I mean, you had boys in one line, girls on the other, right? And then you pair off.
It's like every junior high dance.
Yeah, I was trying to get Mary Reichs or Heather Lewis. And, you know, neither of them wanted to have anything to do with me. Well, look at me now, ladies. I'm live in Boise, Idaho. Where are we?
He's a dancer. He is a dancer. This guy right here. Join the Syringa Squares with me, the group that I was with last night.
I'm live from Boise, Idaho on a Saturday night at 1 a.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Take that.
Hey, man, I got to give a shout out. Syringa Squares, I appreciate that. And letting me crash their party, ruining their Friday night with my poor dance skills. The president, Gage, the caller, Bosco Bosler, has been doing it since 2001. Do you know what a square dance caller is?
Yeah, I had to do it in 5th grade.
See, I don't remember this. I was in 5th grade 30 years ago, and the caller calls out the move, does a little singing, but all these different moves, and you just listen to what the caller says, and boom, you transition from one to the next. Kind of like basketball without the caller.
34-18 after Alston made the second. Utah State in control, back to playing Aggie basketball that we saw in the beginning of the year when they got out to a 7-0 start on the season. Williams rebounds the missed shot by Merrill. Really the only thing of concern now for Utah State, they have 3 starters with 2 fouls apiece. Alston drives in and comes up short. Oh, Alfonso Anderson just wide open underneath. And Merrill with another assist for Utah State. They average 17 assists a game.
Merrill is an excellent passer. That's what makes him so dangerous. Think about guys like Steve Nash in the NBA. We all remembered him. He could score in every which way possible. Then he could defend, and he could make plays with the basketball. I'm not saying Sam Merrill is Steve Nash, but you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. He's dangerous in all different categories of the game.
Now, Alfonso Anderson joins the 2-foul club. And I believe he's going to go to the bench here for Sean Bairstow, the freshman from Australia. We'll see his second action. And R.J. Williams, a senior from Los Angeles, will get a chance to go to the free throw line. 6 double-doubles for him this season, almost 12 points a game, but he's 6th in the conference with 8 rebounds a game. Our Super Tuesday doubleheader on ESPN, and the ESPN app features 2 of the top 10 teams in the nation. John Calipari, number 10 Kentucky host Anthony Edwards, and Georgia at Rupp Arena at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then Miami squares off against Coach K and number 3 Duke at Cameron Indoor. Well, if you want to come back from down 17, you better make your free throws.
Yeah.
Boise State has missed 3. They're 8 of 11. 36-19. Boise State averages 77 points a game. That's 3rd in the conference. And Merrill, I mean, just a defensive lapse right around Jessup and in for an easy bucket.
But some of that's the set play, too, and they know exactly what to do. Merrill's bringing the ball up the floor. He's making cuts off the ball. We saw him post up a few possessions back before the timeout. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's showing you why he was the player of the year in this conference a year ago.
The lead is 19, biggest of the night. Here's Max Rice, and Rice, maybe that's the spark they need off the bench.
Well, it was all predicated on the fact that there was a double team inside the post, and that's what you do. When you get double team, spray it out. Give it to somebody on the wing, move the ball around. Somebody's bound to be wide open.
He's a redshirt freshman from Bishop Kelly High School here in Boise. He had 8 points at San Diego State in 17 minutes a week ago. When coach calls, he gets a big clutch 3.
Well, coach is his dad, so.
Oh, that is a blocking foul on Alston.
I think it's a good call. I don't think he had his feet set. What I was trying to say, though, you said when coach calls, Max Rice answers, but that's not very hard to call him when it's your son. Got to be a special thing playing for your father. I understand the call here.
That's the second on Alston. And Alfonso got the offensive rebound, tried to get the left-handed second chance opportunity. Bean normally sticks that thing out of bounds going to Boise State.
Yeah, I believe Derek Alston, I think what he was trying to do was hedge on that ball screen. And then there was the contact, and that was the foul called. And a lot of times fans in the stands or people watching on TV, they think, well, somebody got knocked down, they got fouled. Not always the case.
Laser beam pass inside will go off of Alston. That's too hard of a pass by Hobbs, who will play some point for Boise State this year. And that There's too much heat on that for another turnover for Boise State. They have 7 turnovers now here in this first half of play.
Oh, here it is right here. Let's take a peek at Derek Alston, number 21 in the blue. No, so he wasn't hedging on the ball screen. He was trying to get out and guard Justin Bean. Yeah, he got into the imaginary vertical cylinder of Justin Bean. That's a foul.
5 players for Utah State have 2 fouls. But they still have a 16-point lead inside of a minute to go here. Bairstow hands off to Merrill, who's had a great first half with 12 points and 3 assists. Corner 3, Brito too long, and here's Jessup. Jessup still scoreless in the first half. Jessup for 3 ends that. I don't think I've seen a crowd get so excited to get within 13, but it's been that kind of a start for Boise State tonight in a timeout. The use it or lose it timeout. And a 6-0 run here over the last 131 for Boise State. It gives them a little shot of confidence.
Yeah, well, this confidence is all coming because Justinian Jessup has yet to score in this game. He's their second leading scorer. This is beautiful. He just dribbles up to the basket. Sam Merrill's playing at a good spot, but he's like, you know what, I'm going to shoot even deeper, like NBA range, and he knocked it down. Jessup, the all-time leading three-point maker in Boise State history, and look how close he is to being all-time in the Mountain West Conference.
That's his 56th three of the season. He's had 26 of them in 7+ Mountain West Conference games, and he's getting into pretty select company here. He should pass Jimmer Fredette here shortly.
I think he has struggled to shoot the last few games, but he is 17 points a game in conference play. Now he has 3, but that's what Boise State's been missing. I mean, Derek Alston and Justinian Jessup are excellent scorers. You know, between 15 and 19 a game between those two each. But they've struggled to score in this game. They get those two guys going. This is a whole different ball game.
Jessup missed a 3 at the end of regulation last season in this building, which would have won it for Boise State over Utah State. The Aggies eventually won in overtime. The only meeting between these two teams last year in that magical season for the Aggies. 3 to shoot. Merrill with 2 to shoot. Launches. No. Offensive rebound. Bairstow puts it up, and he traveled. All right,
freshman.
so life for Boise State.
Yeah, well, Sean Bairstow has been playing more minutes, has had increased confidence as of late. He's the freshman from Australia. But how about that? How about having a 2/3 man on the floor who's 6'8", long, and get you some offensive rebounds like that. Hey, I'm expecting to see maybe a ball screen here and shake free a shooter. Here it comes, Alston on Jessup.
Jessup's going to take another big 3. Missed it. Merrill has the rebound. Just shoots it up. It'll count if it goes. It does not go. And Boise State closes on a 6-0 run to make things a little more respectable. They were down 19. It will now be a 13-point halftime deficit for Boise State.
Now, Boise State early on had a hard time taking care of the basketball. They had a hard time rebounding against the better rebounding team in Utah State, and that's going to be critical coming out of the second half. But more importantly, Utah State, or not more importantly, but maybe as importantly, is they've just got to shoot the ball a little bit better and get the ball in the hands of their best scorers.
12 for Sam Merrill, 11 for Justin Bean. Utah State has the lead, 38-25 at the break. Let's go back to the studio for halftime. It'll be Allison Williams, Dallin Cuff, Chris Spatola with all your halftime festivities as we bid you farewell for a time from Boise.